And so I think it's long overdue. We're one of there are over 33, I think it's 34 states now that have a graduated income tax. The federal government has one. We're one of very few states that does not. There's a few without income taxes, and so I think that's something we should be doing here in Michigan. Obviously, my work on gun violence prevention as the founder and chair of our legislative gun violence prevention caucus. The budget Jeremy talked about, neither one of us serves on the appropriations committee, so we're not there in the negotiation process, but we are keeping tabs of what's going on. We've had a lot of constituents come to us and express their thoughts on making sure certain things stay in the budget, how we should be funding certain aspects, and so that's something we're mindful of as well. One other issue, I've been working with our county treasurer, Andy Meisner, on a couple different things for housing here in Oakland County, giving actually a little more latitude to the treasurer to be able to try to prevent foreclosures from happening. We know that foreclosures impact not just the person that is foreclosed on, but the surrounding community. And so there's some things that we're working on specifically with his office, also with Community Housing Network. I'm working on legislation so that you can't discriminate someone based on where their income is coming from. So if they are getting some kind of government subsidy, that they cannot be discriminated against. So there's quite a few different things, and I'll keep you posted. Hopefully there's some things that'll move in the legislature. So working on those different things. And then the last thing I'll mention just briefly, try to be brief about it, because this is a really big issue with auto insurance and auto no fault, because I think that actually went through since the last time I was here speaking with you. Jeremy and I both voted no on the legislation. We all agree that our rates are too high and we should be doing everything we can to try to lower our rates here in the state and specifically in the city of Detroit and neighboring communities like Ferndale and Oak Park that are part of our district. But there were a lot of concerns with this legislation. First and foremost was the process. We had over 108 pages of language that we were given about 4 hours before we were able to vote on it. So any kind of broad sweeping legislation that's going to impact everyone in the state, I would hope that we would have a longer process.
Talk about ethics and transparency.
Yeah, exactly. And accountability. So more than 4 hours to deliberate and take a look at it. And then we came back, 2 weeks later and had to amend certain things that were missed or done improperly. So the process itself was really disconcerting. Also, rating factors, redlining. It addresses just a little bit, but definitely doesn't go far enough. And also, there's some things they would prohibit using credit score, but they could still use credit information. So it's just kind of changing the name of what they can or can't do. And then zip codes are prohibited, but they could still use territorial rating, which is actually, it could be a smaller area that they're rating based on. So those are two of them. Also, the rate rollback was specifically only on one portion, one line item in your insurance, the personal injury protection, the PIP. So there would be a rollback on that, but there's nothing that says that they can't raise your rates or raise your prices on other parts or other line items on your insurance. And one other thing that I'll just mention, there's the assigned claims coverage for people who don't have insurance necessarily or who aren't driving. It could be someone riding their bike or a passenger in a car. They had unlimited coverage before. Now that goes down to $250,000. So this is someone who doesn't know and doesn't have the option to choose what insurance they're getting, and now they could go broke really quickly. $250,000 if they're in a catastrophic accident is gone like that. And to me, that was one of the most egregious parts of this legislation. And so I looked at it as it was more of a negotiation benefiting or working with the insurance companies versus working with the end consumers in mind. And so we both had our concerns. We both voted no. But we're still at the table, right? Everyone has said there needs to be more done. They want to make some fixes. And so we're still at the table fighting to make sure that people have the necessary coverage. And that's part of what we're also doing is kind of an education to tell people this doesn't take effect until a year from now, but encouraging people to continue with the unlimited coverage option because we had the numbers that show that our Medicaid system, our state Medicaid is going to go up considerably because what's going to happen is people are going to end up going bankrupt and they're forced to go onto Medicaid and then your coverage just isn't the same. So that was kind of the big piece of legislation. There was that, and then obviously the budget. And so sorry for taking a little time to discuss these different things, but wanted to come give a brief update. So with that, want to thank you for the opportunity. And then I'm going to, as I always do, offer my phone number and email to everyone at home or listening here to be able to reach out. Again, we're gonna do joints. We did it last time, and we're going to continue doing that, joint community conversations, so that we can be here and people can come and feel free to come out and voice their questions, suggestions, concerns, things like that. But reach out at any point if you ever need anything. So phone number is 517-373-0478, and email is robertwittenberg@house.mi.gov. I'll let you list your information if you want to do that, and then we'll take any questions that you have.
Thank you.
Yeah, my office phone number is 517-373-7888. And the best way to reach me is my state website, which you can contact me through there, and it's senatormoss.com. We got that URL for the state, so I'm happy about that. It's easy.
Anyone have any questions for our representatives?
We covered it all.
You did.
No questions, but thank you for taking the act on the road and keeping the information fresh.
Yeah.
You got it. You got it.
No, we appreciate you being here. It's very helpful, and I know the residents appreciate it as well. So keep up the good work, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I wanted to appreciate the state rep's initiative on putting a new legislation to remove the ban on the ban on plastic bag bans.
So that's really funny. Okay, so this idea. So I'll talk briefly on this. So I appreciate you bringing that up. So there were, a few years ago, it was Ann Arbor, I think, that was pushing to ban plastic bags and single-use containers in their community. And then at the legislative level, and it was partisan, unfortunately, but they wanted to, a one-size-fits-all model at a state level, saying they were going to ban the banning of plastic bags and single-use containers. And so I decided to introduce something. This is why it actually got national press all over, because sometimes a good talk, if it's a quick snippet, a headline, they're going to run with it. So I got friends from all across the country who messaged me saying, I saw this.
Called going viral.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, my younger colleague here. And so it's, we were saying, I'm a little older, saying that we were banning the ban on bans. And so in essence, what that meant is giving control back to the local communities, right? Each community should be able to decide what's best for their community. So if they want to ban single-use containers and plastic bags, great. If they want to just put a tax on it because they want people to be more mindful of what they use, right? If they're going to take 3 bags for 5 items, we want people to be more mindful. But ultimately, we want the local communities to decide what's best. And I don't think a one-size-fits-all law across the state is best. So I appreciate you bringing that up. We introduced that, so it literally would repeal the ban on the ban. So we're trying to ban the ban of banning.
And it's part of like this broader, unfortunate situation where people who have not served in local government want to control what local governments do across the board. So working with Councilwoman Piana in her role as MML president, has just been really helpful in ensuring we're educating our colleagues about what local governments do and retaining the power at the most local level where citizens can come out and actually talk about some things that are going on at the local level.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you for being here as always. Appreciate it. Tough act to follow, and she's going solo tonight, but the county update from our county commissioner.
Thank you. Couple things. Several weeks ago, we passed a fair chance hiring policy known as Ban the Box. And I've had a lot of questions about this. And what it is, it gives people who are trying to get hired by Oakland County an opportunity to not check off that they have a felony record. And we're asking job applicants about their arrest, or this policy removes that question about your arrest record. And so we can consider more people. It's for Oakland County government. It is modeling to private employers in Oakland County that we encourage you to adopt similar policies, but we're not mandating it, and that was one of the concerns. And there's a whole list of reasons why we should do it, and I'm not going to spend time, but it is on our website.
And thanks to Councilwoman Leaks May, we've done the same thing in Ferndale. 2 years ago?
It's a great policy. Well, this was actually introduced in Oakland County government several years ago by one of my colleagues, and we couldn't get any traction on this policy. But now that we have a different group of leaders, we were able to get it considered, bring it through the committee process. So it's really, thank you for doing it sooner, and I'm proud to say we finally did it. I do want to remind residents, with all the rain, we do have more West Nile virus cases in Oakland County. There's 19 reported. And again, this is a virus that's spread through mosquito bites, and there are more mosquitoes out because of the rain. So if you are going outside, make sure that you don't have standing bodies of water collecting mosquitoes. Use more bug repellent. You know, there's treatments outside to reduce it. So public health. We had a couple of interesting discussions in committees today, and there was a supportive resolution passed through our legislative committee in favor of the Elliott Larson legislation. And one of our commissioners actually spoke with Mel Larson, who was a Republican senator at the time that introduced it, I think 30 years ago. And he's actually in support of the legislation. And we amended, our resolution, but there's going to be hopefully a supportive resolution coming to you from Oakland County, which I was pleased about. We also had another interesting discussion. When I first ran for commissioner 17 years ago, Oakland County had given up doing family planning business. And this was a big issue. There was a large group of people speaking out. Throughout the years that I've been commissioner, we've tried to restore some services, the conversation back into Oakland County government. So recently a resolution was introduced talking about making the health department offer emergency contraception as well as other contraception. And so we had a presentation from our health department and the head of Honor Health, which is our federally qualified health center in Oakland County. We're not mandating the health department to do it because they don't feel that they have the staffing. They're trying to focus in on gap things. But Honor Health is interested in doing more. We talked about educating the public, changing our county website, and really having the conversation more. So I felt really good that our government is opening the conversation, and there will be more following on this important matter. We've been fortunate to have Planned Parenthood in this end of town, but we want to have resources throughout the county. Finally, as the chair of finance, we are moving into finance season. I have a cop, Brooks Patterson, is going to be presenting the Oakland County budget to us officially July 18th. I have the budget book. It's a new world. Part of being the legislative branch is the checks and balance with what the executive gives to the legislative branch. And we are having a much more thorough review and discussion for the first time in my tenure of 17 years. Pre-budget meetings, and it's really very exciting. A lot of work, but very exciting. And I look forward to reporting back on some of the interesting objectives that might result.
Glad to have you back.
That's it.
Anyone have any questions, County Commissioner Zach? I'll always appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. All right. Next item of business is call to audience. So this is your opportunity, if you're here with us in the audience and you'd like to address council on any issue that's not on the agenda, because you can speak to that when we get to that portion of the agenda. But if you'd like to come up and address council on any issue that you'd like, come on up, give us your name, your address, and 3 minutes is yours. Good evening.
Good evening. Sherry A. Wells, 315 West Troy. This is so people can see it at home.
Yep.
A few years ago, I did a series of public comment about recycling, and I think it's time to do it again. One of the topics I'm bringing up this time was also on a Michigan department ad with those cute little raccoons. And the big message that they're giving is part of my message, and that's please don't put in your recycle bin these grubby pizza boxes. One time, one of my walks, I took 2 of them out of sacra bins and just put them in the next bin over, but I can't do the whole city. Now, the top, and it's kind of perforated, so you can tear the top off and then just tear or cut the little bit of grease. No grease because it soaks in. Not a bit. I checked with sacra today, not a bit of grease, or it's going to mess up the whole truckload. And the 200,000 plus figure on this is because when Sacra took a truck from every one of its communities and went through the whole truck and sorted out what could have been recycled, Ferndale citizens, residents, threw away over $200,000 that our city could have gotten paid for. Because we get paid for the recycling, we pay for the trash. And that was 1 full-time police officer, full-time firefighter, and full-time code enforcement that we residents threw away that the city could have been paid for. Speaking of cardboard boxes, because we have these huge bins, all you have to do is fold it enough, or get the nearest grade school kid to stomp on it for you, fold it enough to fit into the recycle bin loosely. You don't have to fold it down to be the size of our former bins or anything like that. Empty out the peanuts and the bubble wrap first. Pack mail will take those styrofoam peanuts. You don't even have to call them. Just bring the bag of those styrofoam peanuts and drop them off, and they're part of a nationwide program to reuse them. As far as the bubble wrap, there are a lot of people doing eBay selling. On Ferndale Free Cycle, you can just say, I've got a whole bunch of this stuff, porch pickup, and it's gone, but not to a landfill. And finally, my neighbor doesn't fill up his bin. He has no problem with me putting my stuff into his bin, which means our trucks don't have to stop twice. And that's efficient, may save time, may save gas. And for people who have a good beneficial laziness, means I don't have to haul that thing out. He can. See you next time.
Thank you, Sherry.
Bye, Sherry.
Good evening.
Hello, my name is Rochelle Bono. I live on West Chesterfield Street. The reason I am speaking tonight is because there is a lot of construction going on in my neighborhood. They're repaving the streets. I don't know if my street is going to be next, but my street has a lot of dips and bumps and things that are like speed bumps that you can't even see till you hit it. And these workers who are doing all this construction, doing the roads, fly down my street so quickly that it shakes my whole house. There's a lot of kids that live on my street. There's a lot of, I actually have 2 little cousins who live across from me. So there's
I'm sorry, what street did you say you were on?
West Chesterfield, and it's not the side by Hilton, it's the other side of Woodward, closer to downtown.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're going to do my street, but they're always up and down there from the time that I wake up till the time that it's 5, 6 in the afternoon, just flying down there so fast, and they're hauling trailers. And I mean, I don't know if they just think they can do it because they're going to be doing that road anyways, or if they're just, I don't know. But they need to slow down. It's ruining the roads more. It's putting the kids and the animals and the families that live there in danger. And it's just, I mean, it actually knocks out my reception when they do it. So it's something that I think needs to be addressed for the safety of everybody there and the roads.
Thank you.
We apparently don't have enough money to fix anyways. So that's
Thank you. And,
all I have to say.
make sure Joe knows that. I don't know, there's some things we can do, the traffic calming signs and the.
Yes, certainly, and our
trash.
DPW is a direct liaison to all of the construction crews that are doing this road work. So if you could, if Kara can help take your contact information, our DPW can follow up with you on that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
It's like the People's Court. Hi, my name is Matthew Valentine. I'm the homeowner at 286 Withington Street. And I just want to know the situation that I'm having. I know some of my neighbors are also having the same issue with the parking shortage and because I live downtown, this happens at least probably 2 times a day, if not 4 times a week, where I have somebody park at the end of my driveway and their car's hanging a foot in the driveway and a foot on the other side. I've called the police numerous times. You know, you can't really do anything. I've actually been pinned in before where I can't get out and I've had to drive on my yard to get out. So it is a problem. So I guess, I don't know if there's anything that's being worked on for that, but what I'm wondering is, you know, if there's a possibility you could paint, and I don't know what the law is in Michigan, how far you have to park from the end of a driveway. I looked it up today. Some say 5 feet, some say 3. Is there any way possibly that I was going to take matters in my own hand and spray the curb, you know, orange, but I thought I would come here first and ask you guys. If that were a suggestion to help be a deterrent for people in that area, you know, for people who are parking in that area and the residents there. So I don't know, I'm just looking for something else to be done or something that can be done to help ease the pain a little bit, especially going into summer with all these festivals coming up and the parking structure going up.
Right.
Then that leads to my second point with all the festivals happening. So this leads to the second thing happened 2 weekends ago, I believe, was some festival happened, and I split my time between here in California and San Francisco. So I live here full time, but I work there, my company's there. So I'm not checking the website to see what's always going on here, but I guess there was some festival with bands playing on porches or something like this a couple
Yes.
weekends ago.
Yes.
Not my favorite festival.
Oh.
But so the way that this worked was apparently I'm in my house starts shaking, and I look out and I've got 75 people on my neighbor's yard, and I thought a cat was dying and it's a band playing, which is fine, I get it. Someone has blocked me in my driveway, I'm trying to get out, and I have a duplex actually, so I have a tenant that lives downstairs, and I ask her, you know, do you know what's going on? She sends me a link to the festival. I write the founder an email, and I just got the email back. I'm more than happy to forward it to you. I probably wasn't very nice in it, and I told him, listen, you know what, like, I understand it, but as a taxpayer here, I'm trying to relax on the weekends. I have to deal with drunk people every weekend in the neighborhood. I've had things stolen out of my yard. I have all these festivals happening, and it happens all the time. He then did his investigation, found out that this house was a rogue house and not part of his group, and there's nothing he can really do about it unless it interrupted his festival. And there was a cop sitting in front of the house too, and so that makes me even more annoyed. And I'm like, no, it's your festival that's causing the problem. And at that point, I just told him, listen, I'll leave town like I do for the Dream Cruise, and no big deal. But maybe you might want to speak to him and see how he can better address that if this is going to happen going forward. Maybe they put a symbol on the porch. Maybe they get a certain certificate on the porch that designates them as a host. Host porch is what they called it, so the cops can go and give somebody else a ticket. But anyway, I just needed to let it rip. So thanks so much.
I know, I appreciate that. I wasn't aware that we had rogue houses, to be honest with you, so that's a
I mean,
new
I guess it's only been the
experience.
second year of this thing. So his name was Michael, and I just was like, I'll forward the email to somebody if they would like to see it. And then he went on to lecture me how I couldn't appreciate the beauty of the music and take 70 minutes out of my day to appreciate it. I'm like, no, it went on for 2 hours, dude. So, I mean, as a resident there, not to be mean, but I've dealt with other things too. The record store had a concert on their roof once, and it's just like music blaring through the neighborhood. I'm like, are you kidding? So I just think that living down there, I think certain things need to be put into place to help the neighbors that live in this area not deal with some of these, intrusions, let's say.
Appreciate that.
Okay?
And on your first point, I guess I just want to ask the chief, in general, what should residents do when they find, and we hear this a lot, and I'm afraid you're going to have to come up so that all of us can hear you. But we hear this, where people continually park into their driveway. He asked a question, which is a good one. How close to a driveway are they allowed to be?
Even I call
I
it.
mean, I know the first thing you should do is just try to talk and work it
Actually,
out with someone. But
I don't
when
want
you,
to have confrontation with them because I've actually had confrontation with people, and I just call the police and I say, listen, I'm usually really lenient about it.
Yeah.
I get it, but there are some points where it's beyond reason, where it's like, give me a break. It's I can't even get on my driveway. So I feel bad calling the police and having them do it, but
Well, that's what
I don't know
they're
if they
there
can
for,
police the area
and-
more, or what else could be done to help it. Because it actually becomes a safety issue then, because I can't. You've got 2 cars squeezing you in, and my tenant backs out. I know she's almost been hit, but I have to go and turn around my driveway and try to pull out, and you can't even make the turn to get out. So anyway.
so Chief,
Well, we get these calls all the time. I would tell you, call
Yeah,
us.
sure, okay.
They can impede your driveway, so wherever the apron is, they can't be past that.
Okay.
If they are in violation, we have a couple options. We can try to find them and move them.
Okay.
We give them a ticket. And then if you truly can't get out of your driveway, we call a tow truck and we tow it. And we use all 3 of those options depending on the severity and depending on what the
Yeah.
homeowner wants to do.
Okay.
we don't drive down the road and look specifically
Yeah.
at each driveway.
Yeah.
If it's in the RPZ, parking might do that because it's on the other side of where the bays are. As far as the Porch Fest, every porch that has a house, they need to get sign-offs from each side.
That's what he
We are given that list. If there was a rogue house, like I said, it is only our second year.
Yeah.
We didn't know about it. We
Yeah.
just, my guess is that they got the sign-off from either one of your neighbors or they failed to get it from you. So we can, I'll give you my card.
Yeah,
We'll
sure,
do a
that'd be
little bit of
great. Sure
follow-up
thing.
on
Yeah,
that
appreciate
because
Yeah, 'cause
we
that's
are
the first I had
sensitive
heard
to the
to-
neighbors.
Sure.
The problem is they only have to get it from in each side of the porch. So like you could be 3 down and still feel like
still
you're being
affected. I
rocked
mean,
out
a lot of people
and
walking
they
through
don't
your
have to
yard
get
and
that,
whatnot, so.
that signed waiver.
Well, be lucky, or be glad that the band wasn't very good, because some houses get a lot more than
I
75
know,
people.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Small consolation, I know.
yeah, no, it's fine. Okay.
Mayor,
Thank
may I
you very
address
much.
the first?
Yeah,
item?
yeah, Chief, before you leave, the Councilman Pollock.
No, I actually, to the
Oh, to the-
resident.
yeah.
So I live in a similar situation where there is enough room in front of my house for a car.
Thank you. Sure, thank you.
What a lot, and a lot of houses on our street have the same problem. What many of us have done is put they sell these orange, like 4 or 5 foot thin little poles
Yep.
that you put at the corners of each side.
Yeah.
And that way, as people are parking, they can see out their rear window, they can see the stick, the orange
Okay, I
stick.
didn't know if I could do that or not, so I
Yeah.
would be more than happy to do that, so, okay.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't impede driving, yeah,
Okay.
I don't see why.
And you're putting it in the grass, is
Yeah,
what you're doing.
yeah.
Right on, have at it, all right, great.
Hope
Thank
that
you, sir.
helps.
Appreciate it. Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Al Benchich. I live at 1437 West Marshall. And my neighbors and I have this ongoing problem. Our yards back up to the city yard. And I love wildlife, but the skunks and the groundhogs are burrowing all through the neighborhood, almost 3 or 4 times a week. Skunks are spraying right outside our bedroom window. We try to keep windows open instead of air conditioning. And they've come from the city yard. Now they've infiltrated the neighborhood. They're burrowing under homes, front porches, garages. And if there's anything the city can do about it, we'd really be appreciative.
Joe, I mean, that's our DPW.
Sounds like the
area.
Southwest Storage Yard. We do
Yeah.
have a contract with the pest control program, and I can definitely put this on the radar of our DPW director to double check with our contract.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them. I mean,
Yeah.
most of the homes backing up to the city yard have 1 or 2 that are coming, if not living in the yard now, they come in the yard most every night.
I'd amend that further. If I'm a block off on West Hazelhurst, and we have a healthy population coming into the neighborhoods here too.
Okay. What was your address, sir?
1437.
1437 West Marshall.
Thank you.
Thank
Yep,
you.
Appreciate it. Cindy?
Good evening, everybody. Cindy Wilcock, Ferndale, DDA. Just a couple updates on things happening in downtown. Our third Thursday Get Real Outdoor Movies start this third Thursday, the 18th. On Vester Street, we're showing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Axis Music Academy will be doing some pre-show entertainment with one of their outstanding students. My son's Pops will also be there with their organic ice pop bike cart, selling treats. Embrew is going to do something fun. Then the third Thursdays in August and September will feature The Goonies and Beetlejuice as our movies. We are continuing to do our Wednesday walks. It's a walking series that residents or business owners or anybody that's interested can meet us here at 5:30 in the City Hall parking lot. We walk around downtown and chat and get to know each other a little bit. We get to share information about the DDA, some of our new businesses, learn from residents what they like about the downtown, questions they have. It's a lot of fun. Get your steps in. We've got everybody from brand-new residents to people who have lived here close to 50 years. We've got some regulars that come every week. Every week we have a few new people. Sometimes we have a really big group. Sometimes we have a really small group. But it's a great opportunity to maybe learn something new about downtown or some of your favorite businesses or be able to share those things. This Friday morning, Main Street Oakland County is making their summer rounds and coming out. They do kind of a little roundtable for businesses, city and DDA staff and elected officials. If any of you are able to join us, I am nailing down the location. I should have that by tomorrow. But from 9 to 10:30, they just come out, kind of share some of the programming they're doing, the opportunities for grants and funding and training that are available not only to us as a DDA, but to our individual businesses. And it's an opportunity also for them to listen to our businesses and learn a little bit about the business climate, some challenges that businesses are facing, and what kind of opportunities or help they need so that they can craft their program around it. So it'll be from 9 to 10:30. We'll have a little bit of breakfast involved, and we will be posting that on our Facebook page and website as soon as I nail down the location. If I haven't gotten a confirmation email tonight, I should have something by tomorrow morning. So that being said, they've got some opportunities for grants, not only for us as a DDA, but also for businesses. A grant opportunity, a mini grant for newer businesses that have been in business 3 years or less, as well as a facade and placemaking grant, and they're continuing to offer those types of programs as well. That's all I've got for today.
Anyone have any questions of Cindy?
Through the chair,
Yeah.
I think Councilman Martin is confusing me, but Chair, you said the third,
Why is it my fault?
Yes. July 18th is the get real?
Yes,
Okay.
third Thursday.
You said so.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. I wasn't-
Thank you,
problem.
Cindy,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Anyone else like to address council? All right, seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. And the consent agenda is items that council considers routine, and we enact in one motion unless council removes something from the consent agenda. We have a short one tonight,
Very short.
which is
Look at that.
unusual. But let me read that now. Item A is the approval of the payment to UIS SCADA for required calibrations of the Hilton Road Pump Station in the amount of $2,657.90 to be charged to the Water and Sewer Fund Repair and Maintenance Account. Item B is the approval of a 2% wage increase for non-union employees with merit increases at an estimated cost of $65,600. Item C is the permission to work on a Sunday letter of request at 2800 Hilton. And finally, item D is the approval of the bills and payroll as submitted by the city manager's office, subject to review by the council finance committee. What is council's pleasure on the consent agenda this evening?
I have a question for clarification, if I may.
Yeah.
On item 6C, 2800 Hilton, permission to work on a Sunday. Two questions. One, that is just, they're doing a parking lot, and that is just for one Sunday, correct?
Correct.
And the request is to work from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. How firm does that 7 a.m. need to be? That's harsh on a Sunday. Can we start at 9 and still get the work done?
Possibly, we're still coordinating the details with them. Just for sake of clarification, they're working on some stormwater management options, so we're working with them on the final details. But the building division has looked at that request and didn't find it unreasonable. Well, we can work with them on the exact start time.
Okay, I'll support it today, but I'd ask that you work with them to start as late as possible and still get it done in one day. Okay, thank you.
Other comments?
I have a question
A
about
question, yeah.
6C. Has the city worked with this company before, and if so, are there any negative experiences with them?
We have not done, to my knowledge, done any direct work with them, so
Okay.
I don't have any record to speak of.
Okay.
Mike, I'm sorry, can I ask a follow-up clarification? This isn't a city contract, though, correct? This is a private contract?
That's correct. This is essentially, so our work hours are specified, just for the folks at home that aren't aware of these rules, there are specific work hours that are listed in our ordinance for commercial properties. And so if anybody wants to work outside of those, they have to do, what we're doing tonight is bring a request formally before council, and council gets to vote on that.
But it's not our work.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, when is this supposed to occur, and has there been any notification? I mean, I know we're being notified here, but is there some communication efforts?
Sure. They'll be notifying all properties within 300 feet of the project. We're still working on the exact date because they're still navigating the stormwater retention requirement, so that'll affect their start date. What we agreed to do as the building division is work with them to facilitate this request, to know that they have the permission, if granted tonight, and then work on the details of scheduling. And so at least 1 week ahead of the project, they'll be required to notify within 300 feet.
Other questions? Or a motion?
I'll move that we approve the consent agenda.
Support.
Moved by Martin, supported by Piana. Final comments, questions, thoughts on the consent agenda? All right, Marnie, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Polika?
Yes.
Councilmember Piana?
Yes.
Councilmember Leaks May?
Yes.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
And Mayor Coulter?
Yes, thank you. The consent agenda is adopted. Moving on now to the regular agenda. Item A is the Internet Service Award for the DOT project. And Joe, you're going to introduce that item.
Actually, we'll introduce both of the next two items, so I'll just remain up here. No presentation for Rocket Fiber, just a general overview of what this is. So, as part of the construction project for the DOT, we have to land internet service for the DOT. So we went out for a request for information in the fall of 2018, and we really received information that from telecom businesses that responded that helped inform the drafting of this request for proposal, because it is a technical request for proposal. So we went out to bid for internet service for the DOT with the intention of delivering on the capital improvement plan project that council asked us to pursue, which is introducing a downtown wireless program. And we knew that gigabit internet backbone would be necessary to provide the bandwidth to put us in position to actually provide that service down the line. In addition, we're running, we hope to operate the DOT parking system in terms of smart technology. So we're going to be using a lot of internet we expect to operate the actual system. So of the bidding process, the most responsive bid came back to be Rocket Fiber. So a few people reviewed that, and that is our recommendation to City Council to approve of the internet service package and the introductory capital investment for the DOT internet service to be awarded Rocket Fiber this evening. And then Rocket Fiber, we do have representatives from Rocket Fiber in the audience who can answer any questions about future opportunities that can be leveraged with this infrastructure project.
And are there folks here from Rocket?
There are, yeah. They're actually Walter Amakuchi and Stephen
Thought
Smith,
that
both
was
here
the
represent
case.
Rocket
Is
Fiber.
there anything you guys want to add to that before we ask questions or?
No, I mean, we'll leave it open to you guys, but
Yeah.
I know from our perspective, we'll be engaged early on. We are currently supporting downtown Detroit.
You know what? I'm just going to ask you to come say that only because a lot of folks, believe it or not, watch this at home and they can't hear you if you're not at the microphone.
Good evening. Walter Amakuchi, part of Rocket
Yeah,
Fiber.
appreciate it.
So yeah, the only thing I want to add to that is we've been engaged since the beginning, especially downtown Detroit. We're always looking for better opportunities as growth appears. Some of the goals and vision that we've had is to really just kind of like grow the network and do things that others aren't doing. What we've actually kind of proposed here is something very similar to what we're doing downtown today in Detroit, and we're very well versed at this sort of technology. And it's helping us in the city downtown of Detroit that we'd like to try to expand this out to the neighborhoods here in Ferndale as well.
Great, appreciate it, thank you.
Sure.
And we have a member of the public that wants to address this issue. Come on up.
Thank you. Evelyn Elster, West Drayton. Not only are we paying extra at the DOT for fewer parking spaces and retail office space the city intends to give away at $1 per unit to the developer, but we are expected to eat a $92,000 initial outlay for Wi-Fi to those units, as well as a monthly fee of $2,877 per month forever. This is beyond insane, and how much do you hate your citizens and dismiss our hard-earned tax dollars to incur this spiteful expense?
Anyone else like to address council on this item? All right, council, what is your pleasure? Questions, comments,
I have
motion?
questions.
Yeah.
Sure. Joe, you indicated that Rocket was the most responsive, and in the packet it says, and reflective of bids received for internet service. What does that mean? What does most responsive
That means
mean?
that the bid package we received, two of the bid packages were essentially just brochures of their companies. The other two, one of which being Rocket, were both competitive. They were all competitive in terms of price. When I say responsiveness, I mean The city requested follow-up, and we received a phone call within hours from Rocket Fiber. The other one didn't actually follow up in phone, but followed up in writing. And so we felt that was the responsive criteria.
So what is competitive in terms of pricing? Were they the cheapest, were they middle of the road? What was the variation in bids?
There wasn't, in terms of internet service, there really wasn't too much of a variation, a matter of $1,000 between the four, so it really came back to just quality of response.
Were the, through the chair, were the other bid responses, are they providing the same type of service level and speed as Rocket Fiber?
No, Rocket was unique in that they could provide a symmetrical service, and I will let them go ahead and define symmetrical in terms of equal download and upload speeds, which should be attractive to future tenants.
Hopefully I don't get too geeky here, but our latencies are the lowest in the industry. I don't know how much you guys know about us, but we recently were voted the fastest internet. And who is that? I'm sorry. Recode Magazine, yeah, voted us the fastest internet. That is, we're trying to disrupt this marketplace by providing faster service than anybody else, especially in the southeast Michigan.
If I may, through the chair, so as contracts go, what does this look like in terms of upgrades? This technology reinvents itself every few years. What kind of position does this put us in to upgrade, and what does that look like?
Well,
it's a sloppy way to ask a technical question from a non-technical guy.
So,
I could be the non-technical answer here.
There you
It's
go.
okay.
So effectively, the fiber that we're bringing into the actual dot, fiber is one of which that it's transmitted by light. So there's really, how do I put it? There is you have a highway that's going to be paved forever. It's the pieces of equipment that you'll have to upgrade 5, 6, 7 years down the road. But that infrastructure that we're building into that dot, essentially, is one of which that we don't see a foreseeable future that anything's going to be able to be transmitted quicker than light, essentially.
It's the optics that can change easily. Once the glass is laid in the ground, it's the optics that matter. So, and those are the easy parts to change.
All right, thank you.
And I would add, any of the network equipment purchased for this is included into our lifecycle management program for technology. So just like our city servers and our city switches and network equipment, it all needs to be replaced, but on a routine schedule, which we try to maximize.
And I'm sorry, one more then. So then does the city own this forever? Or do we at some point have the option to vendor this out to whomever takes the contracts in the building?
We could go out again for bid for another internet service provider. One thing we're doing is we're providing a conduit that essentially would allow anyone, any company, telecommunication company to use that conduit, which is publicly owned, to run their connections to the dot, if that makes sense. So just like for the city hall, we have a agreement with the telecom provider. Once that's up, we can just renegotiate and open that back up for services at the expiration of that contract, which is typically 3-year agreements.
Thank you.
Can you just clarify again the business decision to do this? Or the city, right?
Well,
Why? Because cities are moving towards trying to provide faster internet speeds for the business community as well. And based off of the service coverage maps, it's not just the site of the dot that is going to have access to this, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So speaking first primarily of the dot, that is a business decision from the city's perspective because we're operating a facility there, and that facility needs internet to operate. So just like City Hall or any other building, we pay an internet bill. This is the service that we're bringing to this bill. What we do want to make sure is because these are vehicles using these spaces, we want as close to 100% reliability in terms of uptime on that service. And in that respect, Rocket was the most responsive. Secondarily, the extended commercial opportunity was providing that wireless program, which was a city council objective for the downtown, out onto West Troy Street. So again, to provide effective wireless public Wi-Fi, you have to have the bandwidth or the core, the light fiber that would actually be substantial enough to actually be of value to any future business or future patron of the downtown. And so that we believe the solution does that. So it's essentially future-proofing that commercial opportunity.
All right, so it's solving two problems. One, providing internet access to the building, which is needed anyway, because all buildings that the city provides service to, which is the parking deck, needs internet access. And then B, there's a public good being provided, because we're going to be providing public Wi-Fi, which is what a lot of downtowns are doing, in order to make sure there's equity in terms of accessing the internet in your downtown.
Yes, we believe this puts our downtown in a better competitive environment.
And yet, I believe I read here that we're not subsidizing the private internet use of the
Correct.
private
The internet, yeah, the core of this project is just bringing in the backbone to serve the public facility. However, because this building is envisioned to be promoting office development, future commercial retail on the street level, as you're bringing it into the building, you're also kind of bringing in that infrastructure opportunity for future tenants, including the affordable housing that we'll be discussing in a moment.
Okay, so future office tenants will be paying their own Rocket Fiber bill to access that?
That would be correct. All costs, including installation, would be on the future tenants.
Okay. As well as the retail businesses as well?
Any non-public entity.
Any non-public entity pays their own.
Bills, like it happens now?
This is only covering city-related expenses for city-related services.
Okay.
And public, yeah.
Yep.
Public.
I get it.
Correct.
If I may, through the chair, Joe, the agreement on page 15 says unless you sign a separate services agreement, blah, 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 signature below is written, consent to the terms of the applicable Rocket Fiber service agreement and service level commitment in effect from time to time and subject to change. That's my understanding. Our legal counsel hasn't reviewed these documents yet. So would you rather, if we pass this today, pass it with the condition that our legal counsel has to review and approve it, or would you rather we wait?
I'm comfortable with the condition.
Okay.
And then, just to clarify, we're the first city outside of Detroit to get Rocket Fiber?
I would love to say that, but actually we're out in Southfield and Troy as well, commercially. You'll be the first parking structure maybe outside the city of Detroit.
Ooh, where are you located?
Where we located, headquartered
Where you
downtown
headquartered?
Detroit.
Okay.
Yep.
Other questions or comments? Or a motion?
I'll move that we approve the agreement from Rocket Fiber to provide a gigabyte internet service to the dot for a monthly rate of $2,877.23 from account 585-000-853-100 and one-time associated network equipment and installation costs in the amount of $91,991 from account number 585-000-977-100, subject to the review and approval of city's legal counsel of the Rocket Fiber user agreement and the service level commitment as provided by Rocket Fiber.
Support.
Moved by Martin and supported by Leaks May. Other final comments or questions?
Greg, Milan.
I do have one more question, I'm
Yes.
sorry. Joe, does this come out of our regular operating budget, or does the bond sale apply to this capital expense?
This is a regular parking operating budget by the Auto
Parking
Parking Fund, not the general fund.
Thank you.
Actually, yeah. So the monthly fee would come out of the parking fund
Auto
as
parking
well. So
internet.
it's not any tax dollars. It's
Correct,
actually
this
the
is auto
parking. Yeah. okay.
Parking fees pay for this.
All right. Martin, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Piana?
Yes.
Councilmember Leaks May?
Yes.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes?
Mayor Pro Tem Polka?
Yes.
And Mayor Coulter?
Yes, thank you. That item is adopted. Thank you, Joe. Speaking of the dot, the next item is the development agreement for 221 West Troy Street, of course known as the dot. Joe.
Yes, I will also be introducing this. So we alluded to this at the previous item of discussion, but we're also here tonight to present the conclusion of a long year's negotiation on the development rights for the future private opportunities at the dot, built into the PUD. So just a quick review of where we last left off. Through the PUD process, through the actual public approvals process, we issued 2 competitive bid cycles to the development community, asking for interest to develop office and commercial level retail and housing in alignment with the objectives and goals, which we'll be discussing in a moment, stated by council, that are also included into the planned unit development agreement. The folks that we negotiated with are in the audience tonight, so they'll be able to take questions after I finish this presentation. But Versa Wanda LLC was actually issued the NRA, so they won the 2 competitive processes that we went out for. So Greg Ernie is the principal. Versa Wanda, and Jeff Denha, who's also an owner of 965 Wanda, a business located in our industrial district, is also here, and he's a partner on this deal. So here's a timeline of where we started. So I'm going to take us back to August 2018. As I said, we conducted 2 competitive processes, and we publicly awarded Versa Wanda LLC the opportunity to engage in an NRA throughout the process of August and September of 2018. And what that did was trigger a few processes. We see between September and December, we worked on a brownfield plan. We presented and got that publicly approved by the Brownfield Authority, which was then taken, that recommendation was then taken to the DDA board and the city council for a January approval, which would see them adopt that brownfield plan. That brownfield plan was created by PM Environmental, an environmental consultant who is typical to provide those services. And then in March, to conclude that process, the DDA was presented and approved of a TIF share agreement between the Brownfield Authority and the DDA that would support the development components of this project. So that occurred in March. Between March and May, we directly engaged the MEDC in their incentives process, which are the CRP program and also the state brownfield process. So the MEDC has really been in tune to this project since last September, but really the direct conversations and the direct document submittal started happening in March, and they happened between March and May. And they're still ongoing right now. We're in the midst of an analysis. So the MEDC currently is reviewing this project in terms of state incentives. And the local incentives have all been buttoned up as are articulated in this timeline. And we'll speak to what that looks like for the rest of the process throughout the presentation. So in the negotiation process, it began, one, we met and sat down and looked at identifying the project goals. Then we articulated the investment plan, which I just kind of gave you a brief overview of. The investment plan really looks at what kind of contributions the city needs to make locally to help realize the development vision that the city had, and what developer contributions are necessary in terms of their own equity and capital to put into this. And both of those things speak to the state's expectations in terms of how the state's going to participate via CRP loan and or state brownfield. And step 3 would be to execute the partnership plan with the MEDC pending their approval, which we hope is coming in forthcoming in the coming months. So let's just review our goals on this. When we issued the PUD for the DOT, we knew that council's vision wasn't just for building a parking deck, or colloquially called a parking prison. Right? We wanted to build a comprehensive development that would also bring other ancillary benefits to it economically for the downtown. So one of those is bringing office space, which is the first opportunity to bring in elevated office space downtown. So what this does is it diversifies and makes the economic resiliency of our downtown in a better position. It also ideally hopes to shift some of that evening peak hour problem in terms of parking to the day by adding more daytime job opportunities during the day. So we see this as an opportunity to achieve that goal. We also found a developer who is willing to develop office without a pre-signed tenant, or what they would call on spec. So that is one of the reasons we went out twice. The first time we went out for a bid for development rights on this, every developer just wanted to build market rate condos, essentially, which some luxury condos, which were some we just knew that wasn't a good fit for us, and we were really willing to be patient on this and stick out for the right partner who's willing to help us realize our goals. Number 3, this would be the first elevated downtown Class A office space in Ferndale, which we view as a really attractive amenity to add into the evolving economic resilience of the downtown. Street level commercial space. We knew that there was an emphasis on a preference for small business. We believe we've articulated a definition in terms of guidelines within the development agreement to keep us all in alignment on pursuit of that goal in terms of bringing in tenants to the street level retail space along West Troy. We wanted to minimize economic displacement. This is really important. This was a critical goal of City Council and the DDA, and I think we found a developer was helping us achieve some of this goal. And then the lower acquisition costs. So you'll see that, yes, the city is recommending that the cost for conveying the land for the street level retail and the office and the residential be reduced to $1 in order to lower the acquisition costs, which lower costs that would be passed on to future tenants. That is part of the process that is required in order for us to actually achieve some of our affordable goals in terms of commercial street level retail and the future residential. So the next steps, according to the development agreement for Versa Wanda LLC, would be, pending the signature tonight, would be to secure an architect and engineering firm within 10 days of the signature. And they have indicated verbally right now that they're going to pursue the city's design team, which consists of Fusco, Schaefer, Pappas, and Colasanti in terms of their construction manager, just for plain old efficiency purposes. They're already mobilized. They're already out there. They're going to coordinate with the staff for the Planning Commission and City Council fall agendas, and a lot of that is really determined by the MEDC's consideration of this project on their review. But they've indicated they're going to be reviewing it likely within the coming months. Then once this is signed, they can begin to augment recruitment efforts for the office tenancy and commercial street level retail. Some of the residential goals, we knew that we wanted to soften the transition between the dot as a parking development and the surrounding neighborhood community. We understand that this hugs the neighborhood, and part of our process in terms of public engagement was working with the residents behind the dot who welcomed the opportunity to soften the entrance into the downtown. The other would be to advance the City Council affordable housing goal. The City Council adopted an affordable housing policy. This would be really potentially the first project that would exercise that policy and actually yield some fruit. So we just kind of identify what's within our policy requirements, and it's actually 25%. So Versa Wanda expressed an interest within the development agreement to double that and commit to 50% in terms of having the 50% of the units be affordable in the downtown. No site plan or schematic design has been developed as of today. The focus right now has been on developing for the office and retail before we get to the residential. So next steps for that would be the residential site plan would be due by December 1st, 2020, and a schematic design possibly being produced in the spring of 20. Really, a lot of this aligns with the financing, which is likely going to be HUD related to help us deliver the affordable goal. And Versa can speak to that a little bit more after the presentation. So just in summarizing why this project is unique and just goes beyond the parking development. One, it catalyzes an office market in downtown Ferndale where it doesn't exist today. Hopefully that creates a job, daytime foot traffic, and the ancillary commercial activity that we believe is possible with a venture like this. Secondarily, it really is an agreement to deliberate about the city's focus on small business. Now, it was not easy for us to find a developer, again, 2 cycles, to find a developer willing to work with us on actually executing this vision and preserving the small business character of the downtown. And they've provided a rate structure that enables that, and hopefully we can realize that. And then the partnership, again, they realize the challenge of building affordable housing, and both are willing to engage on that and work on an economic model that helps us realize that. I do want to underscore that the project framework is quite delicate economically, and it is required on the state's support with the MEDC. So we've been working hard on establishing that relationship and augmenting that relationship with the MEDC to support this, and I think we'll be reaching out to our state representatives.
I was just going to
possibly
say,
in the audience.
we need help with the MEDC, right? Just seriously.
To help support this, we feel like this is a game-changing development for the downtown and Lower Oakland County. And so next steps, I wanted to formally acknowledge that the NRA is concluded. This would conclude it. This would be the desired outcome. The 2 parties were able to agree on a term sheet. It was mutually beneficial for both. So we believe we've done that. And so what happens if the MEDC does not support it? Well, then the city still retains the property. And then we just have to rethink, reimagine what this looks like without further economic support from the state. And that likely would mean it's going to be difficult to deliver on the affordability component, right, without that. So we do expect that MEDC decision again looming in the coming months. And with that, we do have our development partners here with us from Versa Wanda LLC, Greg Ernie and Jeff Denha. Please, if you have any questions, I'm sure they'd be happy to take some today.
You want to, before we even have questions, if you have anything you'd like to add to that, you're certainly welcome to do so.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. My name is Greg Ernie. I'm one of the developers here. Jeff Denha is here as well.
Yeah.
I think you all know Jeff. I guess by way of presentation, I think Joe hit all the points. And I do want to say that between Joe, Jordan, and your council, both your city council and outside council, you've done a good job of keeping the city's interests in mind. So, but it's been a fruitful negotiation, and everyone's still committed to the original goals. And I think we're very close to seeing this through to fruition. So I look forward to answering any questions you have tonight, clarifying anything.
Thank you. And so before we get to questions or comments, I think there may be someone from the public that would like to address the council on this issue. And if there's others, you may do so as well.
I also failed to acknowledge that the attorney, Grant Williams from Miller Canfield, is here. He also represented us in negotiations. If you have any questions about the actual legal document, I'm sure Grant's willing to take those.
Excellent, thank you. If you- yeah.
Royal Oak is paying $15.6 million for their latest parking structure of 581 spaces. We are paying $22 million for 387 spaces. It is typical to add $75 per square foot to the base construction budget for a mixed-use finished shelf space. Under this contract, not only are we incurring a greatly inflated price for the mixed-use structure, but you intend to give away ownership of 15,900 square foot retail and 39,875 square foot of office space, the developer at $1 per unit, as well as up to 24 residential units tacked onto the site of the structure. This is an outrage. Prior to construction, we had 138 parking spaces available. Because the retail, residential, and office units need approximately 170 parking spaces, we will have a net gain of 79 parking spaces for our $22 million outlay. The taxpayers of this city will be paying for this structure over the next 30 years. And I ask again, how much do you hold the citizens of this city in derision to impose this absurd expense on us? Do you want me to read it again? Did you get it the first time? 79 parking spaces for $22 million.
Is anyone else from the audience like to address council? All right. Council, it's your opportunity for comments and questions. Well, I'll kick it off. Unlike the last speaker, I couldn't be more excited that you guys are here, and I appreciate your willingness to work in within parameters that are probably not typical in every city, but you know, we consider ourselves different than other cities, and so there were some things that needed to be part of this project that were very important to us. So I really appreciate your willingness to look at the affordable housing, to keep to work on the issue of affordability for the commercial spaces, to try to attract the kinds of folks that we like here, and in all the ways that you have been very accommodating. And so I appreciate your willingness to do that. And I knew when Jeff was part of the project, he gets Ferndale and the kinds of stuff that we need to see here. And so I appreciate the team that you've put together and the work that you've done so far, and I'm beyond supportive of this agreement tonight. Thank you. Other comments or questions?
I'll share my comments. I want to thank you as well. It's not very often that private industry wants to work with government to foresee or see through a government project, and one that really a lot of businesses like to make the dollar as quickly back as possible, and you're seeing the long-term investment in this project. So I really appreciate you being a part of the project and a part of our vision. So thank you.
I'd just like to piggyback on the Mayor Pro Tem's comments because I think this project's really important, not only for the goals that we've set out there, but those goals include standing up against gentrification of out-of-control rental rates for living spaces and out-of-control office spaces to attract the kind of downtown traffic during the day that we need. And you've partnered with us on that, and I'm really appreciative of that. I think this is a very progressive, forward-thinking project that helps reflect the values that this council is trying to push forward. And it's as we found, it's very hard to get some developers to work with us on affordable housing projects or meeting the demand of daytime traffic while expanding the parking significantly at night. And that's all things that come into consideration into this project. So again, you extended my thanks and the due diligence, and I look forward to seeing this move on.
I just wanted to say, one, I was very excited to read this presentation. And what really excited me, in addition to, I'm always grateful for the great business partnership that you are with the city. Jeff, you've always proven that, and I welcome you aboard. He's looking that way, but not talking to you. Okay. But to advance the Council of Forwarding Housing goals to 50%, I think that's just wonderful, and I'm just very excited for the outcome of that. And I appreciate you just working with the city and always being a good partner with your business, always investing in the community. So thank you for that.
And through the chair, I have more specific comments about the development agreement, as well as just sort of echoing about the key goals that we were trying to go after, which is really what we've heard from the business community and from our residents. Worried about rents increasing, not only for living, but also for retail. And that when the rents go up, it's harder to get entrepreneurial retail. And we have a very fierce entrepreneurial spirit. I call it fierce in Ferndale. And how do we navigate those needs based off of market demands? And having a development partner who is willing to negotiate those items, knowing very well that in order to make lower rents happen, that the city has to be a contributor to the incentives in order to do that. So you just can't say we're going to do affordable housing. In order to get it done, in this situation, the city is leveraging some tools in our toolbox, which we have very few, by the way, in comparison to other cities. We don't have a large community development block grant fund. We only get $75,000 a year. Detroit gets millions, as rightly so. And we don't get any home funds. So we can't contribute those types of incentives either to do housing. And so for me, applying some of these incentives as well as looking at the land cost was critical. I gulped a little bit on the dollar land sale, but realizing that that is necessary in order to obtain these goals. And so who is the development for? The development is for our downtown. The development is for people. We need to prioritize not only housing cars, but housing people. In order for the city to reach those goals of housing people at a lower rental rate, this is what we need to do in order to make that happen. And the state is a huge linchpin in making that happen. If the state doesn't come through with the Michigan Strategic Fund, we will not be able to provide affordable housing units in this development project because the numbers just don't work. So I think going back to housing people is just as critical as housing the cars that we're building homes for in our parking deck. I did have a question about the 50% of units will be affordable, depending on how many units, and I know that is still being figured out. But what AMI percentage rate are you going after? Are you going after 80% rate, 60% rate, or 50% rate of AMI? Or are you just going at the median income of $70,000? Or are you going to have a mix of AMI percentages available of units?
Let me, I'll try to make it simple. It'll definitely be a mix, and it'll partly be determined on a market study. Part of the process is a detailed market study, because we'll be working with MISHDA, which is part of MEDC, and they want to see market demand be met. So it really will depend on the market study, and I would, at this point, I assume it's a mix. I'm doing other affordable housing projects, and they're a mix. There's
Right.
no doubt.
Usually that's not all 50% AMI.
Correct.
Right? And I just wanted to let people know that 50% rate is someone who could live there would be making $35,000 a year, whereas 80% of the AMI would be 56, approximately 56. It was up on the screen. So when you talk about range of units available in this affordable housing, multiple income levels will be able to will be able to afford to rent there, depending on the outcome of the mix of the thing. Okay, so the next one is, I also wanted to say and call out and say thank you, I think, for the small business agreement. And this is about making sure that the developer goes after entrepreneurial retail first and do your due diligence, and that the city manager has to approve a waiver for the developer to go above and beyond and outside and look at other options than entrepreneurial retail. So I just wanted to say I thought that was a critical component of supporting lower lease rates for entrepreneurial retail. And I'm hoping that we can still be a sort of, not the best word, but incubator for people to go from a startup retail space into their first storefront in our downtown. And to me, that's really exciting that you're testing out this market and us doing that with us, because I don't think anybody else has done that, at least in South Oakland County as of yet. So thank you. And then my final question, I think, Joe, you've answered all of them. I had a round of questions. Can you just talk a little bit about the transfer in the development agreement? Unfortunately, it was all about the developer dying. And what would happen to the transfer of the ownership. But can you explain that process a little bit? Because when property owners do change hands, they may not hold the same values or goals as the original agreement. And in the unlikely event that a transfer may happen, sort of like an unlikely event of a water landing, can you talk a little bit about a transfer?
I think there's two parts to that. One, the transfer refers to this project being located in an opportunity zone. So one of the goals of an opportunity zone is to actually exercise investment. So that would.
I didn't catch that in that, so I'm glad I asked.
Yeah, so that's actually would be sort of transfer every time there's outward investment inside, which is a good opportunity for small business to participate in their own success. Secondarily, I think I'll actually let the attorney speak to the transfers.
My name is David Williams, and so to answer your question, the goal was to know who you're working with and not have that change over time. So that whole section on the transfer was limiting what sort of transfers could happen. And there are two ways to transfer property. You can transfer the title of the property, or you can transfer the interests of the company that owns the property. And so those were the limitations for that, restricting that, so that that couldn't happen. Now, obviously, in death, we didn't want to put a restriction there. But outside of that, there was basically 10 years that it needs to stay with this developer, not being transferred to someone else, so you know who you're working with.
Okay. I know we haven't really talked about it, the exciting opportunity with opportunity zones, which is relatively a new tool in the toolbox that is sort of cities are figuring it out and developers are figuring it out. I'm really excited by what this could be doing for our downtown in the future.
And with the opportunity zones, your tenants coming in can also take advantage of that. So this would not prevent that either. So
All right.
that works very well.
And finally, my overall comment is, development agreements are all about having the checks and balances in there and making sure everybody is abiding by their partnership. And I feel that there's been significant due diligence in making sure the city's interests are covered, but it looks like it's a fair deal to the developer as well. And so I just wanted to say thank you to all parties in the negotiating process. And finally, my last comment, sorry, that I wanted to be clear that this construction, when the parking deck technically is done being constructed, construction doesn't end on this site. There's still got to be construction for the office and then residential. And so I was wondering when you think the street of West Troy would open during this almost 2-year development process.
I think ideally, should the MEDC express support and we can move forward with closing, I think ideally, the developer would like to take opportunity of our construction workers doing the concrete right now, and so it just fits in within our construction timeline. And so West Troy should open ideally at the same time as the DOT is expected to open in the spring of 2020.
Okay.
We should be staying committed to the initial 12 to 15-month timeline that we outlined.
Okay. Well, I pray that development stays on
State
its
support.
timeline, weather pending, and no other strikes, labor
It should stop
shortages,
raining, yes.
or anything else that may impact development from getting done.
If I may, through the chair,
Yeah.
working off of your last question, so what would we be looking at the timeline for the entire project to be completed? I know we're looking at opening up the street in spring of 2020, but that's not completing if everything falls into place, we get the approval from MEDC, construction goes forward with the contractor, they just continue building. How long do the people on West Troy have to deal with construction?
So the longer side of that, 12 to 15 month, would be 15 months, and I believe that puts us in May of 2020. So we envision the parking deck and the street to be open in May of 2020. I believe the office shell should be done. I believe that they would just be working on fit-outs at that point internally, which wouldn't require the crane, right? That doesn't require a lot of the heavy equipment that's on there right now. So hopefully we can finish that concrete work in short order, pending the state approval.
Okay. But then we have the housing on Allen, which, would that then close Allen off for a period of time while they're constructing?
Our construction manager hasn't anticipated the closure of Allen for
Okay.
that. I think at this point, what you might see is just a mobilized site where you have any of the construction equipment that they are using would be housed on the site still, on that parcel B, which would be the future residential development. Because to Greg's point, that's going to involve further participation via the HUD process. There's just a lot of obstacles there that are just unknowns in terms of residential timeline, but we articulated a target timeline of having a site plan for residential approved by December 2020, which would be after the office is done and the retail is done and the parking deck is open. So that's ideal, and that just really, that's what we're shooting for, pending all of our partners.
Thank you.
Don't have a motion.
Glad to have you back.
I know.
Everything's
Would like to make a motion?
Was there one listed?
There's not one.
I can't find it in my packet.
I move to approve I'm going to paraphrase. I move to approve the development agreement between the City of Ferndale and Versa Wanda LLC, a Michigan limited liability company, for the downtown DOT project effective July 8th, 2019. Did I get that right?
Dan, is that an appropriate motion?
Well, the development agreement that as presented and as part of council's packet. this evening.
As presented as part of council's packet.
Support.
All right, moved by Piana, supported by Martin. Any other comments, questions? I did neglect, while we're thanking people, I see the chair of the DDA here and the deputy director. You know, the DDA has been an important partner in this, both financially through the TIF share agreement, but also through their, their staffing efforts and their communication efforts. So I did want to acknowledge and appreciate the DDA and the support that they've had to help us get to what is the end of the NRA period. And so it's sort of a red letter day for us, but they've certainly been a strong partner and ally in this as well. So, all right. Any other comments or questions? If not, Marnie, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Leaks May,
Yes.
Councilmember Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Polika,
Yes.
Councilmember Piana,
Yes.
and Mayor Coulter.
Yes, thank you. That item is adopted. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, very good. Moving on now to regular agenda item C, and that is the consideration of the resignation of Council Member Melanie Piana.
Well, do you want me to introduce?
Well, first of all, Marnie's going to introduce that. You don't have to introduce that. Marnie will introduce that. Marnie, what are we up to?
Well, Councilmember Piana has expressed an interest in becoming a mayoral candidate in November 2019.
Yes.
She has submitted her petitions, and we have certified that she has gained enough signatures to be on the ballot. The next stage in that would be, because her term does not expire at the end of 2019, that kicks in the charter requirement that she resigns at least 10 days prior to the final filing date, which is July 23rd. So the 10 days kicks off on July 13th, so this is the last opportunity at a council meeting to fulfill that requirement. So we are interpreting the resignation to be effective upon acceptance by the authority, approving authority, which is City Council. So,
Which is why we literally need to vote to accept the resignation.
yes.
We could, of course, in our hearts say no, but we wouldn't want to include.
Yes, so we are tonight, if Mayor, if Councilmember Piana is wanting to resign, we are asking that you accept and file her resignation accordingly.
I have my written resignation in front of me, and our chapter 4, section 5 of the city charter stipulates that I have to resign from council, and that is tonight's action in order for me to run for mayor. I'm really excited to take this step forward and serve Ferndale in a new way in my temporary city council sabbatical, which is technically 6 months because we don't take our seats here until January once elected, not right after the election. And so I'm really honored to have served in this capacity for the last 10 years. It has been one of the most professional and personal achievements and experience that has just opened my eyes up to how local government can positively impact the quality of life of our residents and business owners here. And I look forward to doing that in my role as mayor. And I'm really honored to have support across the board, and people will see me out on my bike going door to door, what I've done at every single election as council, and I will be collaborating with council in the next 6 months. Still will be around and still will be involved, particularly on transit and mobility and some other initiatives as well. So I look forward to listening to residents over the next 6 months, well, 5, leading up to November 5th. So I humbly ask this council's approval of my resignation. And I think you need to do a roll call vote.
Yeah, we do.
To move forward to make comments, I will regretfully move that we accept and file the resignation of Councilmember Piana.
I regretfully support.
All right, so it's been moved by Councilman Martin, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Polika. Now, comments and questions, and I'm going to take the liberty to start. We have a resolution, first of all.
You're
That
gonna make me cry.
I know. Well, that's always the goal.
It's not that hard.
The mayor of pain.
So this is the formal resolution. So we'll start with that. Melanie Piano was elected to the Ferndale City Council on November 2nd, 1999.
No, I haven't been on council for 20 years.
2009, typo right off the get-go. All right, sorry about that. And twice re-elected by the qualified electors of the city of Ferndale for additional
Be
terms
3
of
times
office.
elected.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to have to redo this. Councilwoman Piana is running for
Do y'all know how long
for
I've been
mayor
on
of the city
council
of
for?
Ferndale, and therefore she is resigning as council member of the city of Ferndale. During her tenure as a member of the Ferndale City Council, Councilwoman Piana has served on a number of and they list all of them, and I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
I'll point out some of the more significant ones. The Ferndale Environmental Sustainability Commission, the DDA's Business Development, where you were the chair and really kind of started a lot of your involvement. The Planning Commission, some COG City representative, twice served as mayor pro tem. Did we get that number right?
Yes.
Twice, okay. And then on a regional and statewide level, and maybe most significantly, and you're just winding up your time as the Michigan Municipal League president of the board, but also a SEMCOG Taubman Fellow to Harvard, the RTA Citizens Advisory Committee, a lot more that I won't mention, but it'll be in here once we edit this. And so your commitment to the residents of Ferndale extends beyond duties as a member of City Council, as evidenced by your generous donations of time and energy to the community-based organizations and events. Councilwoman Piana has worked tirelessly to promote the city of Ferndale and has, through her efforts, contributed to the growth and prosperity of our city. Her contribution to our community cannot be understated. She has served the city admirably and helped to advance the quality of our community as a place in which to live and work. Now therefore, be it resolved that the City Council, on behalf of Ferndale's residents, business communities, and city staff, commends Councilwoman Piana for her significant contributions to the city, and we extend our sincere appreciation for your devotion, commitment, enthusiasm, and excellent service to the city of Ferndale. I'm not going to give you this now because we're going to edit that.
Thank you.
Do we need to? I hope we don't have to edit this. All right.
No, it was right.
Is that right? All right. Because we also wanted to give you something for your bookshelf with the new logo on it, which you were also an instrumental part in helping us to achieve. But this also says congratulations. How many years of service?
10.
Okay, we're going to.
It's wrong.
Yeah. Ferndale, and then it says, Ferndale, the benchmark for a modern community that embraces the richness of diversity and brings inclusive hospitality to life, and it has our names on it, to you. We're going to scratch out it says 9 for some reason.
That is my favorite vision statement.
And there is our vision statement, which you also helped us to create, and our branding, which you were a huge part of, and so.
Thank you, everybody. This was completely unexpected. And I'm just honored to have served with all of you. It's been an amazing ride, and I look forward to another great adventure starting in January when I'm mayor.
And now I'll just add a personal note. You've been on the council the entire time that I've been here. You're the only one that's been here my entire tenure. And I just want to thank you for your leadership on so many issues and your advice to me personally, and maybe most importantly, your friendship to me. You've been a significant part of this city government for a long time, and your imprints are all over the city. And I do believe this will just be a temporary goodbye. You certainly have my full and complete support in your quest to sit here, and I hope to see you here in January.
Well, thank you. I'm going to work really hard to earn the vote of our residents, like I've always done. And I am totally going to put this cube
heavy.
Yeah. In my house and have it on my, the celebration wall, which is all about celebrating yourself and your accomplishments, and I just love it. So thank you.
And I would open it up to anyone else who had any comments on.
I would. I'll start. First off, I'd like to thank you for your 4 years of service.
4 years of service. No math majors in this group.
Because it is a temporary hiatus, I wanted to make this a roast. There was not a lot of support for that, though. But thank you for your service and your friendship, and the same thing the mayor said. You've been a really great ally and a great friend, and this would not have been anywhere near as rewarding an experience as it's been without you. So thank you, and I don't want to make a huge deal of it because I, too, firmly support your quest to be our next mayor, and I firmly believe this will be just a temporary reprieve to give you some time to campaign. So,
Thank you.
yep.
All right. Well, I just want to thank you for your mentorship and your leadership and for your 10 years of service. I particularly, a lot that people don't know here is your kind of our private conversations about mentorship and leadership and some techniques that you've shown me to make me stronger. I've never forgotten, and I use to this day. So I look forward to you becoming the mayor of Ferndale. I'm in full support of you, and hope to see you in January.
Thank you.
So it has been an honor working with you. 10 years ago, we were a little bit adversarial.
Yes.
We ran against each other, and the better candidate did win back in 2009. You are by far the most knowledgeable, most knowledgeable person I know about how cities work. You get it. You understand it. And I look forward to working with you again as mayor in 6 months. And like everyone else, I fully support you. So
Thank you.
have a great run.
Thank you. I also wanted to say thank you she had to leave, but I had to give a shout out to Helene Zach, my county commissioner, and of course our state rep Robert Wittenberg and Senator Jeremy Moss. When all levels of government work collaboratively together, you can get a lot done. And I feel like we have the most amazing group of people representing our community right now. And we're firing on all pistons or all go. And I'm just really excited that we have great people running for local and state level positions. And I look forward to being mayor in January and working with y'all again. I ain't going away.
Hope not.
So thank you. All right. Marnie, roll call?
She's practicing already. Take it away.
It should have been a roast.
I have a question of clarification from City Attorney.
Okay.
Is Councilmember Piana voting on this?
No, I think it would be better for
I would.
To
Okay.
abstain. Good question.
Okay. So, Councilmember Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Polika,
Yes.
Councilmember Leaks May,
Yes.
and Mayor Coulter.
Yes. So thank you. Your resignation is reluctantly accepted. And now, it might seem a little awkward, but the next item is actually a discussion about what the process is next, and it's probably not proper for you to be a part of that conversation.
I am going to
So-
formally step down from my role.
The chief is
And
ready.
the chief is ready to escort me
Toss you out.
I'm taking my cube and.
I warned them it could be trouble, but I think we got it, chief. I think she's going to do this voluntarily. Okay.
You can cancel backup.
Can I have the Jeopardy music?
Yeah. Actually, I can.
You probably just don't. Getting rid of it.
Yeah, right.
Oh, and you know what? Since you won't be a council member, you can take that. You can take that with you.
Don't let the door hit you. Thank you.
And we'll get you the proclamation.
Thank you.
Fix that right up. All right. Ever since Gary left, the Historical Museum is no alcohol.
Oh, don't let the ladies hear you say that.
No, I'm sure we forgot to ask. All right, moving on. All right, our final agenda item then, as I alluded to, is the consideration of the appointment to fill the council vacancy, applicable sections of Ferndale City Charter. So, Marnie, would you explain for us and for the public what the charter does say about the filling of the appointment?
Sure. Vacancies in the elective offices are noted in Section 9, Chapter 3 of the Charter. Vacancy within any elective office within 30 days should be filled within 30 days after the vacancy occurs, with an appointment by the majority of the members of council or the remaining members of council in this case. So that appointee will hold office until the next regular municipal election, which means that there will be now a partial term available on the November 5th, 2019 ballot for the partial term vacated by Councilmember Piana. But in the short term, council needs to fill that vacancy. So we are suggesting, the charter doesn't specifically say how that needs to be filled, so it is council's purview to decide that process. However, we are suggesting that we accept applications, boards and commission applications that are available on the city website for anyone who might be interested in applying for the vacancy to hold the office until the end of the year. And after we have received the amount of, or received all of these applications and we know what kind of interest, there will be then council can use that knowledge at their July 22nd meeting to further determine how they would like to go about filling the appointment or making the appointment. It does need to happen within 30 days, so the last date that council can fill this vacancy would be August 5th. So if we get through to July 22nd and you would like to wait to make the appointment, we would want to schedule a special meeting to occur no later than August 5th to fulfill that requirement.
Do people understand that we don't have two regularly scheduled council meetings left in the 30-day period?
Right.
Correct.
So
Do we have the
either
option?
fill it at the next meeting or we have a special meeting to fill it.
Do we have the option to move the August 12th meeting up to August 5th so we can do both at once?
Or can we change the deadline? Can we?
No.
make
The
the
deadline
deadline? That's part of the
That's
charter.
The deadline is
That's
charter.
charter.
Through the
Yeah.
chair, council
Yeah.
has
Charter
discretion
amendment.
to change its regularly scheduled meeting,
Yeah.
currently scheduled on the 12th. It could move that up.
My suggestion would, I have two suggestions, I guess, is now the appropriate time that we.
Yeah.
So,
Are you finished?
I am.
My suggestion would be that we move August 12th to August 5th, 1. 2, I like the guideline of the boards and commissions application, but I would want to make sure that we not discount any written expression of interest in the position because they use the wrong form.
Okay.
So if you get a written resume or written request, I would include it.
I would suggest that the candidate should meet the same requirements as though they were an elected official. So age of 25, resident of, minimum resident of 2 years, et cetera, that we would have for any
Is that
council.
required anyway, Dan, or no?
It's not for this appointment.
Yeah, okay.
But we could make it.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, I guess I assumed that an appointee has to.
It says
have
to
a
be
certain
elected.
To be elected.
You have to be 25 and a resident for 2 years. Not appointed.
I don't disagree with you that it could be.
I don't
our
disagree with
standard
it either, but it's
anyway,
an interesting
maybe, Dan, if you could just double check
I will,
before
Your
the
Honor.
next meeting if that's a requirement or not. But I certainly would agree.
Well,
Makes sense to make.
Yeah, in my
a
mind,
guideline.
if you can't be elected because you don't meet these requirements, how can you be appointed if you don't meet these requirements?
Right.
Well,
So,
it does-
so let me just ask, if that's the case, and then, so you're suggesting we make the appointment at that meeting, how long would we leave open the applications?
My suggestion, or our suggestion, is Wednesday, July 17th, which is the council packet agenda deadline, so that way we have enough time for you to be able to review those
July
applications.
17th?
Correct.
9 days
Less
away.
than 10 days.
Well, that's for the
No, it's
22nd.
5 days. That would be before the 22nd.
That's for the, yeah, but that's for the 20,
That would be to gather applications.
right, we would need the applications gathered by August 5th. though. So it'd be July 28th.
Okay.
We're talking about taking action at the meeting of the 5th. but
Okay.
Technically, they could have until the 31st.
Right.
Okay.
I feel better about that than 8 days.
Okay.
Well, I guess my question through the chair, are we going to review them all at that meeting then? That'll be the first time that council has a chance to see them?
It's a public discussion, so we have to.
Okay.
And I think it's important to emphasize on the website, this is not an anonymous application. Their application will become part of the council packet and thereby public.
Yeah, I don't think we can redact their addresses and all that. I think that needs to be,
Well, we redact the addresses of the committee appointees.
I know, the committee appointees, but if you're a council person, that has to be public record, I would think.
I don't know. Good point.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I would emphasize there's no private application,
Yeah,
regardless.
certainly, yeah. This is-
You know, we could make it easy. We have a candidate that's actually, available. Melanie. Just repoint her back for the rest of this.
I don't believe that's legal.
For those of us wanting to stay out of jail, I think we should,
We should avoid that.
so do we need a motion?
I think
I think
we
it's
do.
2 motions, right?
But let's just 2 more minutes. I just want to make
Sure.
sure everybody's sort of fleshed this out in their head. Is this comfortable for
Well,
folks? I mean, I want to make sure that everybody's comfortable.
I wouldn't mind a recap. I don't know if that's possible.
recap
of what we've kind of all agreed upon.
I mean, I can do it if.
Go ahead.
So we've agreed that we will accept applications to fill the position until July 28th. That we
That's a
will-
Sunday.
Well, 29th then, right? That we will meet on August 5th to select the replacement of the candidate. We'll accept any written.
And that the meeting will be the 5th?
That's a
Not a special
separate motion, though.
Oh, okay,
I'll get
okay,
to that. Yeah,
okay.
You're right. On August 5th. And that we will direct the candidates to fill out the boards and commissions application, but we'll accept any written expression of interest to be appointed. So we're not excluding
I'd like to
anybody.
prefer the
Oh,
application.
I prefer emphasize,
because
point
I want,
everybody there. Yeah,
They're
I
trying
like-
to, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then a separate motion, that's in one motion, and then a separate motion would be to move the regularly scheduled meeting on August 12th, 2019 to August 5th.
So 2 motions, we can just accept them as one?
No,
I mean,
Let's
but we have to
No,
vote
the
on each
date
one of them?
change has to
Okay.
be first,
Okay.
because the second one
Yeah.
relies on that change.
Joe, do you see any, or Marnie, do you see any issues with that timeline or that process?
And are the stipulations then also included in that regarding the residency requirements, et cetera? Or,
Well, I think he's looking for that, but
Okay.
if we
Well,
don't
and
have
Actually,
it here, we
Section
can.
3 of, does note, it says qualification of council members, mayor and members of council shall be elected on a nonpartisan ticket. But then it further goes, no person shall be eligible to the office of mayor or commissioner who is not 25 years of
Oh.
age, a citizen of the United States, and a resident of the city.
Uh-oh,
or
but
preferred
Dan's
notary
looking at you
for 2
playing
years.
lawyer going, but
Right.
wait a minute.
The end of it says preceding the election at which he seeks to be elected. So I do wish to look at that.
Okay.
I'll provide some
Yeah. We may not
further
solve that
report
tonight,
on that
but
issue to
whether we
the city manager.
consider that a guideline or a requirement.
We could actually just weed those out then, because they have to put their residency.
But yeah, because if
on
you
their
find that out that
application.
it is a legal requirement, that could be part of the information when we post,
Yeah.
who's eligibility.
Through the chair, a question for Marnie. Is there a process that you need to go through with every application that you receive? Do you do any kind of validation? Because I just want to confirm that time between Monday and Thursday when you put the packet out, that there's enough time to consolidate and validate all the information that you need to with these applications. Because I don't know if we're going to get
we don't
4 or 40.
Right.
Yeah. What we do when we receive an application, they come through the Seamless program, and we forward them to the appointing authority when we receive them for the regular boards and commissions. So if it's a board or commission that Councilman Martin might be the liaison for, we would give it to him and also to the mayor. So in this case, we would probably just be collecting them and then compiling them for your edification when the deadline runs out. Yeah.
Will that meeting be the first time that we see them?
Yeah. Well,
The
the
packet.
packet.
The packet.
No,
Well,
no,
Then when we get the packet?
no, there's no, but there's no reason we couldn't see the application?
Yeah, as soon as
they come
as
in?
soon as the deadline,
Oh.
well, yeah, we can,
Is there a
it's your
reason we couldn't
preference.
see them as they come in, just
Yeah.
to give us more time to read them?
yeah, you're welcome to, if you'd, that's how you'd prefer, we can certainly do it that way, or we can just compile them and on the 28th, give you what we've received.
Here's my problem with that. And I know where you're going, and I totally appreciate the time. My concern is in the interest of transparency. Oh, he left. But I don't want to have that information in a time period before it's made public and they could withdraw. Because I think that puts us at risk of an appearance of impropriety, which I know we would not do.
Right.
But I don't even want to create the appearance that somehow a candidate gets discouraged before they are publicly
That's
acknowledged.
fair.
So
Yeah,
I would
okay.
say we get them on the
Certainly
29th
wouldn't
when they
wanna-
come in. There's
okay.
no, very little vetting from the clerk's office, 2 points. And then we get them at that, we can get them before the packet release date on Thursday, but we all get them at the same time it's public.
Yeah, that's a good point. I certainly agree that we want to be as transparent and fair as possible.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So whether it's the 30th, you can release them, or that Thursday, however that works, just release them to all of us at the same time.
Okay.
So is that a motion?
Let me make the first motion I'm going to make is that we move the regularly scheduled August 12th council meeting to Monday, August 5th at 7 PM.
Support.
Moved and supported. Further discussion, comments, questions? Joe, you're comfortable with that process?
Yes, I am, and I think we can commit to working with the attorney to sort out any of the question marks around the charter language and have an application that is, reflects this discussion by the end of the day tomorrow.
Okay, excellent. And then if Kara, I don't think she's still here, but,
She's right there.
She's right there.
oh, except for right there. We'll get it up on the website or whatever and all of that stuff. Okay. Excellent. All right, it's been moved and supported, right?
Yep.
Marnie, would you call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Polika,
Yes.
Councilmember Leaks May,
Yes.
Councilmember Martin,
Yes.
and Mayor Coulter.
Yes. Thank you. That item is adopted. Do you have a second motion?
I do. I would like to accept applications from I move that we accept applications from residents interested in filling the council member vacancy created by Councilmember Piana's resignation to run for mayor. The city boards and commissions application is the preferable way and may be submitted to the city clerk until Monday, July 29th, stating the board of commission being applied to the city council vacancy. City council will meet to fill the vacancy on Monday, August 5th at its new regularly scheduled council meeting.
Support.
Well done.
Just through the chair, that would be end of business day. city
End of
day.
business, end of city business day.
Okay.
All right, moved by Martin, supported by Leaks May. Any comments or questions on that item? From the public as well, if there's anyone who has an opinion? All right, Marnie, would you call the roll? Are you clear, Marnie, or were you going to ask
Yes.
a question?
Nope,
Yeah,
I'm
sorry.
good.
Okay.
Councilmember Leaks May,
Yes.
Councilmember Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Polika,
Yes.
and Mayor Coulter.
Yes, that item is adopted. Thank you very much. That concludes our regular agenda. Moving on now to call to council. Police Chief Palazzolo, anything for the good of the community? No. DPW, oh, Fire Chief, nothing. DPW, nothing? All right. Recreation.
Oh, no, I'll just become.
Rena Wheeler, our Director of Recreation. It's a busy time of year for you folks. I would be disappointed if there was nothing going on with you.
There's several things going on, but I'm only going to mention a couple today. I just want to announce we have a couple events coming up. We have our Park at Night, which is this Thursday. It's movie and music in the park, so there'll be a live band, and we'll also be featuring Lego Movie 2. And that, again, will be Thursday, the 11th, from 6 to 10 p.m. at Harding Park. Free giveaways, bounce houses, there'll be a lot of activities, and it's a fun event for the entire family. It's a busy week. In addition to that, we have our Ferndale Fitness Festival, which will be this Saturday from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. It's an event, a fusion of fun, fitness, and health all in one event. There's a stage and bounce houses and rock climbing walls sponsored by Oakland County Parks. So we'll have several gyms on stage performing fitness classes from Zumba to HIIT classes to kickboxing, boot camp, youth fitness, Zumbini. Some of the gyms that we'll be featuring will be Pulse Fitness, Dungeon Fitness, Franklin Athletic Club, Fitness Hip Hop, Motor City Dance Academy, MKP Fitness, Nature's Playhouse, a new youth fitness, among others. We'll be giving away 100 free swag bags for the first 100 participants that come out. So it's for the entire family from age 1 month all the way up until 100. So we have something for everyone. So come on out. It's free, and we look forward to you and your families and friends coming.
Can we ask questions?
Yeah.
Just my perception is that the skate park has been a big hit. Any reactions or education around that you want to share? Or
Yeah, definitely. So the skate park is very active right now. It is skateable, as you all know. People are there. I pass by it every day and stop in, and from the morning to evening. So it's great that it's being utilized, and everybody has been on their best behavior. We haven't gotten any real complaints from the skate park. There are some, rules and culture of the skate park that it seems like everybody is complying with, but of course there's going to be a learning curve as well. But definitely use the skate park with caution. It's at your own risk. We are allowing bikes at the skate park at this time, but they cannot have any metal pegs. In addition to that, just be safe, go with the flow of the transitions and the traffic of the skate park. But yeah, it's going very well right now. And there are a few more details that we need to complete as part of the construction, which is more like landscaping.
Yeah, great, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Parking, anything from parking this evening?
Just a note, the resident who came up about his place on Withington and problems with residential parking, we do have, I did speak to him with the police chief about the possibility that there is a program within the residential parking system that residents can apply with, or can petition the city for consideration for residential permit parking. It's pretty straightforward. I think we've had 2 requests at various times to date, where both were really temporary pressures that have for the most part alleviated. Other than that, we had a successful free parking holiday last week. Hope everyone's 4th was good. And we do have our big festival coming up in only 2 weeks, Pig and Whiskey. So there will be some parking outages for that. Stay tuned for more information.
Thank you. Very good. Kara, anything from communications and community engagement?
Hello. Really quickly, we are aware that residents have been experiencing some issues with WFRN on Comcast. I believe Mayor Pro Tem Pollica made us aware of it initially. And then we've also heard that in addition to Channel 17, which is WFRN, Channel 20, which I believe is Education, Ferndale Education, is also experiencing problems on Comcast. So our IT team did a great job of looking into things and kind of turning the system upside down. It's not on our end. It is on Comcast's end. They looked into it, and we right now are awaiting a solution. We actually were expecting to hear something by today, and hopefully we did. So, Greg's got questions. A fix is on its way, but I wanted residents to know that we're aware of it. And meetings can still be seen on YouTube and directly on Granicus on our website. If you have Comcast and you're frustrated because you're not able to access.
Thank you.
If they had Comcast, they wouldn't know because they can't see the broadcast. But
I know.
I did talk to my friend this afternoon, and he validated that he can now see the image. But it was 5:30, so all they had on was the sports and the weather kind of screen. There was no sound, but I don't know. We don't know if there's not supposed to be sound. There used to be sound years ago.
There should be sound.
There should be sound.
Well, there wasn't sound then, and I told him I would call after the meeting to check to see if the sound came through for the meeting.
Okay, all right. You know, we put something on the website. It's hard to reach everybody. If you're the kind of person who relies on Comcast to watch the meeting, you may or may not be also following us on social media or also checking into the website. But if you hear something about it, or if there's any way that we can help get the word out to others, happy to do so. We should have a fix very soon.
Thank you. Jordan, anything from economic development this evening? All right. Anything from HR this evening? I mean, not HR, finance, I'm sorry. HR next, get ready. Finance. Just wanted to see if you're on your toes, Cheryl.
I was ready. I just wanted to remind everyone that tax bills went out. They hit the mail stream June 29th. So you should have received them by now. If not, you can come by the office. We can reprint one for you. The coupons went out probably about 4 or 5 days after the actual tax bills went out, so they didn't come at the same time. Again, if you don't have those, you can come to the office and we can print them for you as well.
Great, thank you. Now, Dan, anything from HR this evening? Not this evening. All right. Marty, anything from the clerk's office?
Yes, so now that we have a partial term available, as I mentioned, it will be a 2-year term running from January 2020 to December of 2021. The candidate filing deadline per charter and by state law is Tuesday, July 23rd at 4 p.m. So we will have nominating packets available here at City Hall. The state does have very stringent laws regarding petition requirements as far as the blank forms that the petitions are on. So anyone wishing to distribute petitions should get them from us in order to be sure that they can be accepted. The charter requires no less than 100 signatures and not more than 150. And just a note that there are plenty of reasons that signatures might be invalid. You know, people will sign them and not realize perhaps that they are not registered here. Once in a while, we will get someone who has a Ferndale mailing address but might live in Royal Oak Township, which they are not our voters, so therefore that would be someone who is not registered here. Sometimes it's a simple mistake like wanting to print really clearly so that we can see who you are, but then your signature doesn't match your signature on the state's voter registration file, and we can't count it. So there are plenty of reasons that they could be invalidated. So we always suggest that people are, you know, not just complacent with getting that 100. And because there may be more people out there circulating petitions right now, it's good to remember that signers can't sign more petitions than there are offices to be elected. So for example, we have 2 full-term council seats, 1 mayoral seat, and 1 partial term. So if anyone were to sign for more than those 4 distinct offices, their signatures would fall off of everything they've already signed, which could result in signatures that have already been certified being invalidated.
If I may, through the chair, do you mind if I go, or do you want to go?
No, go right ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. So just to be clear, though, this is a separate office that's being opened up. So if I have signed the other 2 full 4-year terms, I can sign one more for the partial two-year term.
Correct.
If I have.
Through the
si-
chair,
Yeah.
that nominating petition should indicate that it's for the partial
Partial.
unexpired term.
Yeah. If I have signed 3 full council terms, my 3 signatures on those full council terms will be invalidated, but I can still sign 1 partial term, correct?
Correct.
Because it is an independent position,
Yes.
and that one will not be validated.
Correct.
Yeah, that was my question. So if I signed 1 mayor but 3 council, then just the 3 council are invalid.
Correct.
The mayor is, okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And,
Can I just add really quickly that realizing that this is a complex situation, we worked closely with the clerk's office and did an FAQ. We did an announcement about the resignation and then frequently asked questions about why and how and the different term limits and, how you can be considered for one versus the other and all that kind of stuff. It went up on the website during this meeting, and I'll send it to all of you. But
He's only been resigned 15 minutes.
We're good.
Thank you.
Yes, and that's all I have. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you, Marnie. Joe, anything from the city manager's office this evening?
Yeah, just a brief announcement that the August 12th meeting has been moved to August 5th, just a reminder to our residents. And also a reminder to our staff. Be mindful of your packets.
Yeah.
No, that's all. And
That's it.
I also wanted to take the opportunity to acknowledge it's been a pleasure working for Councilperson Piana, and it's a pleasure working for this community and this council as well. So now seemed the appropriate time to acknowledge that.
Thank you. I probably should have given you an opportunity to do that earlier, but I wasn't thinking, so thank you. Dan?
Briefly, Your Honor, last week, the state marijuana regulatory agency passed emergency rules regarding recreational marijuana. It's 65 pages of emergency rules that are effective now for a period of 6 months. I will be providing a summary of that administrative rules for council in the next couple of weeks.
Excellent. Thank you. Happy reading. Councilman Martin.
Nothing else is on tonight, Your Honor.
All right. Councilwoman Leaks May.
Let's see. Just really that I kind of want to just piggyback on did she leave? Where did she go? There she is. On Lorena, the Parks and Rec Director's information regarding the skate park. It's been really wonderful, and I've really enjoyed just driving. I can't tell you how happy it makes me to see all those kids doing that instead of anything else that they could be doing at that moment. So it's a great thing, and and the community's kind of embracing it, and it makes me happy just to drive by and see them. It can be raining, then it's clear, and the minute the sun comes out, it's filled. So it's pretty great. I really appreciate that.
Great. Mayor Pro Tem Pollock.
Speaking of rain, how does that drain? Because there's no drain in there.
There's
There is a drain? Okay. I'm thinking you'd end up with the pool that everybody wants.
But that was actually part of if I may through the chair, though, that was really an actual big important part of the site consideration of how that drainage works, right? Because we talked about that with the neighbors. Yeah, that was a big deal. Good question.
I have nothing tonight, Your Honor.
All right, and I have one thing, I'm just pulling it up right now. This Saturday, there's going to be a celebrity softball tournament at Martin Road Park. It benefits the Metro Detroit Youth Clubs, formerly known as the Boys and Girls Club of Oakland and Macomb County. We have a chapter right here at the Kulik Center. Jack Aronson and folks have put this on every year to help support the clubs. I'm going to be playing. I don't think I'm one of the celebrities. There's more important people than me, but I'm going to be playing, and a whole bunch of other real celebrities are going to be there. So if you're interested in supporting our club and having a good time at Martin Road Park this Saturday, the first game is at 10 a.m., but the celebrity game starts at noon. So come on out and support our club. And that's all I have. So with that, our meeting is adjourned.